Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you know when live we go.
All those who are scoring 90 plus marks in the prelims examination have a very strong chance to clear the prelims. Now you should start preparing for the coming mains examination without any confusion. RAU'S has launched General Studies Mains Test Series and Quality Improvement Program for Mains 2020. The goals of the program are: first, revision of the most important themes from the perspective of mains examination. For this, there will be Mains Compass, which are subject-wise compilations, and Quality Improvement Program classroom discussions. Second, fine-tuning of answer writing approach through rigorous testing, sample answers, evaluation and personal mentorship from the teachers. Third, simulation of exam-like testing through tests which will help you understand the art and science of answer writing along with honing your time management skills. The new batch is starting from 16th of October, so enroll now and better your chances to clear the mains examination. The link to enroll for this program and its details are given in the description of the video.
Welcome to today's DNS session. We are going to discuss today's newspaper, The Hindu, Delhi edition, dated 12th October 2020. We are going to pick up important articles and discuss them from civil service examination perspective. The articles that we are going to take up for discussion has been tabulated in front of you, and the time stamping for the same has been given in the description section. Before you take the DNS, attempt this self-assessment speed test. Attempt the test within 4 minutes. Next on your screen will appear the solution to the test. You see how much you know and how much you don't know. Have the thirst for the knowledge for things that you do not know. Attempting the test with full zeal will make you more receptive to the knowledge that lies ahead in the session. There is a news article on page number 8, Blue Flag Tag for Kasarkod and Padubidri beaches. See, on 10th of October, India has got Blue Flag certification for 8 beaches. Those 8 beaches are Shivraj Beach in Gujarat, Ghokla Beach in Diu, Kasarkod and Padubidri Beach in Karnataka, Kappad Beach in Kerala, Rushikonda Beach in Andhra, Golden Beach in Odisha, and Radhanagar Beach in Andaman. See, Blue Flag is kind of a eco label, and this label indicates a high environmental and quality standard in the beach or a marina or for sustainable boating tourism operator. These are the 3 things for which Blue Flag certification is given. This certification obviously is given on voluntary basis, meaning if you want to get certification, you have to apply for it. The certification is awarded by a Denmark-based non-profit organization called as Foundation for Environmental Education. The focus is on environmental education. And that is why, in order to qualify for the Blue Flag certification, a series of stringent environmental, educational, safety and accessible criteria are required to be met. This is not an easy certification. Many countries takes 4 to 6 years to get it. So far, 46 countries have got the certification for different number of beaches, and Spain has got the highest number of certifications so far. The core idea of Blue Flag certification is to connect the public with their surroundings. How? By encouraging them to learn more about their environment. So one of the stringent requirements for certification is environmental education. Environmental education activities must be offered at the site, apart from permanent display of information relevant to the site in terms of biodiversity, ecosystem, and environmental phenomena. Environmental education is crucial in the puzzle of sustainable development. So we'll talk about environmental education a little bit more, but before that, I must inform you that the Environment Ministry is carrying out a program to give eco tag similar to Blue Flag, and that is called as BEAMS. BEAMS stand for Beach Environment and Aesthetics Management Services. This program of giving the eco label called as BEAMS is being run under Integrated Coastal Zone Management Project. And the certification that we have got in the record period of 2 years was not an easy thing. And the reason why we have got the certificate in a short time after applying it is because government had focused attention on it. And recently, in January 2020, the Government of India issued an extraordinary Gazette notification declaring a list of activities and facilities that would be permissible in the coastal regulation zone area of certain beaches, which have been identified for obtaining the blue flag certification. Just like government made the target to break into top 100 and now into top 50 of ease of doing business index, and government then worked for it, similarly this was the target that Government of India had. Proactive measures were taken and do's and don'ts for these beaches that were identified to obtain the blue flag certification were spelled out. And because of that effort, today we have 8 beaches in India with blue flag certification. To prepare the beaches to get the blue flag certification, Government of India, as we have talked about, developed its own eco label called as BEAMS under the program of Integrated Coastal Zone Management Project. See, Integrated Coastal Zone Management was a concept that began in the Rio Summit of 1992. ICZM also became the subject of discussion in Agenda 21. And ever since that Rio Summit of 1992, many countries of the world have been adopting ICZM principles for management of coastal zones. And to meet India's commitment for the coastal management at the Rio Summit, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change established a Society of Integrated Coastal Management. Society for Integrated Coastal Management works under the aegis of Ministry of Environment. And this society implements the broader scheme of Integrated Coastal Zone Management. And the eco-label BEAMS was being implemented under the Integrated Coastal Zone Management. Now let's talk about environmental education in India. Environmental education in India formally began in 1983-84 when the Ministry of Environment established Environment Education Awareness and Training Program. It was started as a central sector scheme and it aimed to promote environmental awareness among all sections of society to mobilize people's participation for the conservation of environment. Environment Education Awareness and Training Program has 4 components. One is National Green Corps, then National Environment Awareness Campaign, then there is a program to conduct seminars and workshops, and there is National Nature Camping Program. National Green Corps basically is aimed at school students and it is implemented through Eco Club program. And this Eco Club program began in 2001. The purpose is to impart knowledge to school children through hands-on experience about their immediate environment and to develop compassion towards environment and to sensitize children on issues related to environment and development so as to build young cadres of students with sensitivity towards environment protection. So Eco Club program coming under the National Green Corps, coming under the Environment Education Awareness and Training Program of Ministry of Environment is the main institution for environmental education in India. Apart from that, for the prelims exam, you must be aware of a program called as GLOBE, Global Learning and Observation to benefit the environment. GLOBE is an international environmental science and education program, and in India, it is implemented under the agreement that Ministry of Environment has signed with the US government in 2000. There is a news article on page number 1 with the title Paper Strip Virus Test to be out soon, says our Union Health Minister. The paper strip test has been named as Feluda. The regulatory clearance for the test has been given and very soon it will be used for diagnosing COVID-19. We have covered Feluda in great detail in the DNS dated 20th September 2020. Here we'll have only a short revision of it. The testing kit Feluda has been developed by Institute of Genomics and Integrative Biology, which is part of CSIR. The interest in the testing kit and the technology behind it has increased Because it matches with the accuracy of real-time PCR test. Feluda kit has 96% sensitivity. Sensitivity is the percentage of positive result for positive samples. 96% sensitivity means the kit will have at most 4% false negative, which means that if 100 positive people are tested through this kit, then at least 96 of them will be tested positive. And for at most 4 people, it will give false negative. Feluda has 98% specificity. Specificity is the percentage of negative result for the negative sample. So specificity of 98% means the kit will give at most 2% of false positive. The performance of the kit is remarkable because the real-time RT-PCR test give at least 95% sensitivity and 99% specificity. But real-time RT-PCR test takes much longer time than the Feluda test. Feluda takes around 45 minutes and RT-PCR test, if it is done very diligently, then it will take around 1.5 hours. However, in the laboratory setup, it takes much more time, around 6 to 8 hours. Rapid antigen test takes around 30 to 40 minutes, but the performance, reliability, accuracy is lot less. If you compare it with TrueNAT test also takes at least an hour. And I hope you know what TrueNAT test is used for. See, RT-PCR test is the gold standard for COVID-19 or for any viral or bacterial infection. PCR stands for polymerase chain reaction. Polymerase chain reaction is used to make more copies of the nuclear material, the DNA basically, because copies of only DNA can be made, not RNA. Millions and billions of copies of the DNA is made to increase the accuracy. Because in the sample there will be many materials. There will be even many nuclear materials. So to test predominantly the nuclear material of the virus, it is important that the number of DNA material of the virus is made disproportionate with respect to other materials in the sample. So that is done through the technique called as polymerase chain reaction. RT stands for reverse transcription. Reverse transcription because you know that coronavirus is RNA based virus. Virus will either have RNA or DNA, it won't have both. But copies can be made only for DNA. So for RNA virus, it is important that the RNA of the virus is converted into DNA and then only copies can be made. So for that purpose, an additional RT step of reverse transcription is used in case of coronavirus or any other virus that is RNA based. So RT-PCR test actually tests the nuclear material. It will take too much time. There is an innovation in this test called as real-time RT-PCR that takes much less time. And the indicative result is given in the beginning as the process goes on. So even before the final result of RT-PCR test comes, an indicative result can come in the real-time RT-PCR test. Basically, some fluorescent technique is used in real-time RT-PCR test so that some kind of changes can be observed in the sample. If you compare real-time RT-PCR test with the performance of Feluda, it is comparable. But Feluda is a testing kit and it can be used in the field with much more ease. That is why there is high amount of focus globally for this kind of testing kit. And the kit uses the CRISPR gene editing technology. This is not a protein-based test. Nuclear materials are not tested here. Very innovatively, the CRISPR technology is rather used. And we have seen previously in the DNS, and you would already know, that Cas9 protein is a kind of scissor, if we can say so, at the genetic level. The Cas9 protein in the bacteria is used to cut the part of the DNA of the virus which is used to infect the bacteria. So it is a natural defense mechanism that is present in the bacteria. Human beings have identified that and have used it very innovatively in various applications. Feluda is one of that. See, the process is very complex. First of all, the position where the cutting has to be done is identified. And then the protein comes, it makes the cutting and it joins the rest of the two parts. If something has to be inserted, that is inserted as well. But we have learned to manipulate the whole thing. And for the first time in Feluda, a specifically adapted Cas9 protein has been used. This specifically adapted Cas9 protein does not go through all the steps. It does not identify the proper position for cutting. It does the scissoring, the cutting job indifferently. It cuts anything and everything that is there in the vicinity. So the process becomes very simple and it comes very handy in doing the diagnosis. The process goes something like this. When there is a presence of the nuclear material of the virus in the sample, then there's a trigger for the Cas9 protein to operate. That's how it works. But after getting the basic trigger, it does not stop and it is non-selective. So the point is that it will start doing the scissoring job, it will start cutting down the nuclear materials only in the presence of the virus. In the kit, there is present some identifier molecules. And the property is such that if the identifier molecules are not cut, they get attached to one position in the kit, and if they are cut, then they get attached to different position in the kit. So cut and uncut molecules get attached at different positions. Depending upon the position at which the lining appears, one can know whether the scissoring activity was done or not, and hence one can know the presence or absence of the nuclear material of the virus. So this is how the basic scissoring activity of Cas9 protein is innovatively used in the diagnosis of COVID-19. Once again, this is not a protein-based test, so it cannot be used as a gold standard. It cannot be 100% confirmatory because the sensitivity is only 96%. But still the performance is great because the sensitivity is 96%, but the time taken to do the testing is less, and more importantly, it can be used in the form of a kit by frontline healthcare workers in the field. On page number 7 at the Data Point Center, today the Hindu has given data on crime against women and punishment and conviction rate in those crimes. You can learn two things here. First of all, you can pick the data to be used in the exam, and second of all, you have to learn to draw graphs like this. You may not match the exact point with years, but you can generally just write year like this on the x-axis and the rate of crime on the y-axis. And then you can draw a general graph with two colors or in two shades or in two designs, whatever. One with a solid line, one with a dashed line, to differentiate between two different schemes of data. Learning things like this will bring you way ahead than others in the mains exam. These data are based upon the data released by NCRB, National Crime Record Bureau, and this data did not concern the entire of India, but majority of the states. You can say that in the majority of the states, less than 60% of the cases involving victims from the scheduled castes were charge sheeted by the police in 2019. After FIR is registered, first information report, certain investigation is carried out by the police. In the FIR, it is actually the narration by the victim. In the charge sheet, it is the record made by the police. And once the charge sheet is made, then the trial will begin, if that is acceptable to the court. During the trial, the record is brought from the charge sheet and not from the FIR. Ordinarily, the trial cannot begin unless the charge sheet is made. So only in the 60% of the cases involving victims from the scheduled caste, charge sheet was actually made by the police. And out of those 60%, only 40% of the cases tried in the court resulted in conviction. And such low rate of conviction was also observed in rape cases. Now here is an important thing for you to take note of for the mains exam. The overall growth of instances of rape has declined over the period of last 4 years. However, rapes in which victims were from the scheduled castes have seen a sharp increase. You can see in this graph, in the last 4 years overall, if you see from let's say 2013, then overall the rape cases has decreased. But for the scheduled caste in the last 4 years, the cases seems to be going up. There is one more important data that you should take note of. In 2019, police closed 8% of all rape cases as false cases. As I told you just now, after FIR, before the charge sheet is prepared, investigation is done by the police. And in that investigation, if the police is not convinced, then the charge sheet will not be made and the case will be closed. Such cases were 8% of all rape cases overall. And in the case of scheduled caste, such case was 6.7%. So the opinion made in the data is that Contrary to the common perception, the cases filed under SC and ST Prevention of Atrocities Act are not false allegations. If there were false allegations, then the number of cases getting closed after FIR would be much higher. But this is lower than the overall average. So the misuse of the SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act is not as much as it is perceived. The graph here shows the rate of conviction versus the charge sheeting rate. Ideally, state should be here, where the charge sheet is also high and the conviction is also high. See, in the Union Territory of Delhi, the conviction rate is considerably higher compared to other states and UTs, but the charge sheeting is very low. In UP, the conviction rate is the highest, and charge sheeting is also considerably high. But in states like Gujarat, in states like Jammu Kashmir, also to a certain extent in Kerala, the conviction rate is very less, although the charge sheeting is very high. In Gujarat, conviction rate is one of the lowest, despite charge sheeting being one of the highest. But if we plot the similar data for scheduled castes, we'll see that in general, the conviction rate has increased. For example, for UP, if you see, the overall conviction rate is around 55%. But this touches to around 65% in case of SC. Similarly, if you see for Uttarakhand, it's around 50% overall. But for scheduled caste, it is again around 65%. And this is true for most of the states. Their conviction rate in case of scheduled caste is higher. Perhaps this is because of the stringent provision and the non-billable provision under the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act. There is an article on page number 10 at 15, RTI Act crippled by huge backlog. It has been 15 years since RTI Act has been implemented, but the problem with most of the state commissions and even with the Central Information Commission is that they are functioning at reduced capacity. They don't have the requisite number of personals. The problem is so intense that this huge backlog is defeating the very purpose of enactment of the Act. See, RTI, its implementation and the problem concerning RTI was covered in detail in the DNS dated 17th August 2020 by our illustrious Vaibhav sir. So we will not discuss RTI Act in a broad manner, which was already done. Today we'll focus just on the delay aspect of the RTI implementation. You know, one reason why RTI Act was considered as revolutionary was that in the Act there was provision of timely reply to the query, and failing which the government official concerned will be penalized. This is what made the Act revolutionary. The provision of the Act is still there. However, that is being nullified to some extent because of some systemic problem. First and foremost, there are insufficient numbers of information commissioners, both at the central level and at the state level. Because of this, there is high backlog and delay in the hearing of the cases. Secondly, the information collection is very poor. Record management system is very ineffective. Information collection from the field is not effective, and because of these, the processing of RTI application is very slow. Additionally, sometimes the information is not given appropriately. Many a times only part information is given in the RTI reply. So because of the poor quality of information, the petitioners are forced to go for the first appeal. And the first appeal has increased significantly under RTI Act. There is a provision in the RTI Act for the first appeal in case there is no information being received from the Information Commissioner or the PIO within 30 days of his or her RTI application. Or if the petitioner is aggrieved by the decision of the Central Public Information Officer or the State Public Information Officer, the response of the PIO may be unsatisfactory, or the PIO supplied incorrect information in the opinion of the petitioner, or the PIO demanded excess fee, or if any other administrative problem comes, then the petitioner can go for the first appeal. You must know that the first appeal cannot be filed within 30 days of applying the RTI. So it becomes a kind of roadblock in seeking information. Moreover, there is an option for second appeal as well in the legislation. If you are not satisfied with the first appeal, you can go for the second appeal. The second appeal goes to the Chief Information Commissioner. The second appeal is made within 30 days from the date on which the decision of the first appeal has come or it was actually received by the petitioner. After 90 days from the first appeal, the second appeal can be accepted if the Central Information Commission or the State Information Commission is satisfied that the appellant was prevented by sufficient cause from filing the appeal in time. But the point here is that the second appeal does not have any time period within which the second appeal decision will come. So due to this, the applicant has to wait for months in order to have his or her case heard at the CIC. So initially there was a time period of 30 days within which the information has to be given to the petitioner. That's why the act was revolutionary. But increasingly the petitioners are not satisfied by the reply. They are going for the first appeal and the second appeal. And effectively what that has done is the significance of this stipulated time has diluted. So delay, backlog and poor quality of information given under RTI is destroying the spirit of the law. There is an article on page number 10 with the title, School Closure May Cost India Dear, meaning the closure of the school during the lockdown is going to be very expensive for India. Recently, World Bank has released a report titled Beaten or Broken, Informality and COVID-19. In this report, World Bank has highlighted that the extended closure of schools, which is now for 5 months, can dent India's future earning anywhere between $420 to $600 billion. The report has beautifully explained the relation between depleted learning levels of students leading to poor labor productivity. I will encourage you to go through the report, at least the executive summary, and if you have time, you can glance through the report. It's important because it explains very well the economic aspect of COVID-19 and the difficulty that nations, especially the poor and middle income nations, will face in reviving their economy post-COVID-19. The report has highlighted that all the nations in South Asia is going to see reduced labor productivity post-COVID-19, but India particularly will stand to lose the most. The nations in South Asia are poor or middle income country. They invest less on primary and secondary education. That is the prime reason why they all will suffer. But India, because of being at the unique stage of demography, is the most vulnerable. The report has highlighted that as many as 5.5 million students can drop out of schools across South Asia. The total loss in economic output would be much higher in South Asia because they spend less on primary and secondary education. In Europe, the schools have resumed, even the primary school, because they can afford to do so. They have infrastructure, they have less population, they have less number of students per classroom, they have better teacher to people ratio. They made arrangement for sanitizers, napkins in the classroom. So with these preparations, it was possible for them to resume their classes. Unfortunately, we couldn't. It has been more than 5 months that the schools have been closed. So there has been substantial learning losses even for those students who will remain enrolled in the schools. This has been an extraordinary situation because we haven't seen schools being closed for so long. And closure of school for so long not only means that they have stopped learning new things, but they will also forget some of the concepts they have learned in the past. Although schools have tried to engage the students through digital learning, but it has been difficult. Despite many of the government's best effort, digital learning has not been successful, especially in rural region and among the students from poor financial background. It has created more wedge in the society. It has created more digital divide. And we have discussed in the previous DNS in detail the advantages and disadvantages of digital learning or remote learning. The report concludes that because of disruption in training, schooling, and the functioning of other educational institutions, even when the lockdown is lifted, we will see lower human capital formation and lower labor productivity. And this is how the challenge of COVID-19 is very different than other previous natural disasters. Now we will do question for the day. Yesterday's question was based on CRISPR technology and the answer to that question was D, all of the above. Today's question is this. Consider the following statements regarding Society of Integrated Coastal Management. It works under the aegis of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. And the second statement is, it is the nodal body for environment education in India. Select the correct statements, one only, two only, both one and two, none of the above. With this, we have come to the end of the session. I would recommend you to solve the DNS quiz for a second revision for the DNS. For the second revision of the DNS.